Okay, so I've made it all the way across and I'm coming to end off this colour. I'm just going to really just end off and sew that in as I have done before. So now we're ready to start the next part. So you can choose, as I said before, you can choose any colour you want, any cottons that you want, or even if you don't want to use cotton yarn, that's fine. So your choices of yarn are your own. So I'm just going to put this yellow next, because I think blue, turquoise and yellow do go together really, really well. So this one I just got on my recent yarn quest to hobbycraft. So I'm just using any yarn. It's not necessarily yarn from my shop, although this was Stylecraft Naturals in cotton. And so yeah, just using any that sort of pop into my head really. And okay, so I'm going to leave a good enough tail to sew that in. And whoops, don't want to get that in there, do I? Don't normally like two tails at the same space, but it makes no difference really. It's a big blanket, so we'll be fine. Okay, so with this round, I'm just going to simply do a row of UK double crochets, single US crochets, and do one in every single stitch along. So it just gives us a good foundation for this colour, nice and easy. And yeah, just simple as that. So you don't necessarily need to watch me do that. Again, I'm working over the tails, as you can see, because, you know, who needs to sew them in if you can work them in? Even if you want to just sew the last bit, that's fine. Some people like to just go back along, say push the needle in and go back along just to bury that in. So I'm going to drop it because sometimes I do that. It depends on the yarn. So anyway, all the way along, very, very simply, a row of UK double crochets. So you know, if I say UK double crochet from now on, that I'm going to mean a single crochet in the US, if that's the terms that you follow. I'll catch up with you when I get to the end. Okay, so I'm on my last stitch. Don't forget this little one at the end. And there we go. Now we can turn. Such a lot of it. Okay, so what we're going to do on this row is, I just need to move my camera a little bit. So I'm going to do my chain and I'm going to pull it right low. I don't want it to get confused with a stitch. I'm going to do a UK half treble. So if you hear me refer to a half treble, it's a half double in the US. And to do that, we just yarn over, go into our stitch and pull up the loop, yarn over and pull through all three of those. We're going to chain one, skip one, and then we're going to do another in the next stitch. Okay, this row is a little slow because I find after a chain, doing a half treble isn't the easiest because of that chain. But never mind, that's what we're doing. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So yeah, all the way along. And nice and simple. Chain one, skip one in the next one. Chain one, skip one in the next one. Nice and easy. We've had quite an intricate stitch, so it's nice to pull it back with some, I won't say plain, but some easier stitches just to bring it together. So I hope you all mastered the bead stitch. I know it's a new one for many of you, but it's nice to master new stuff. Okay, so as I've said before many times, watching me go all the way to the end doing this is going to be a tad boring, so I will pause it again and I will carry on and catch up with you when I get to my very last stitches. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row and we can skip one, and we have 2 stitches left. So I'm going to just do 1 in each of those stitches. A bit tight at the end. Okay, that will keep our stitch count nice. If you lose one along the way, if you gain one along the way, as I say, the world won't end. We just do 2 at the end of the row. No one will ever know. Okay, so that will be less of a bulge once I sew those ends in. That's fine, just pull them, give them a little tug and they disappear. Okay, so this round then, row. Why do I always call it a round? I do call a granny square a row. Right, just trying to get this positioned properly. Okay, so the first stitch we're going to do, I'm going to cinch my chain right down. I don't want it getting confused with a stitch. I don't want to be increasing all over the place. My first 2 stitches are going to be a UK double crochet, and I have to do 2 because we ended up with 2 stitches. So in this space, we're going to go below it. We're going to yarn over, drop down to the row beneath, so these UK doubles down there. We're going to pull up a loop, pull it up a little way. Don't want to pull it too much, but we want it to match the height of this row. And we're going to pull through all 3. And then we're going to do 1 in the post. Now, it's hard to find the post. You can either do 1 in this stitch over here or 1 in this stitch here, because it'll be the right count. Okay, so 1 in the post, drop down to the row beneath with our half treble, which obviously is a half double in the US. 1 in the post. I'm going to spike down to the row beneath with our half treble. 1 in the post. Obviously, this is our post. Going to do that all the way along. It's hard to get into these sometimes. And drop down. Okay, so that is how it's going to look. It's going to just look like a little spike stitch. And if you want to, as I say, you can go into the one before. It's hard to find the actual post, but whichever one kind of presents itself to you the easiest, then just use that one. I like to go in the one before, really. And we're just going to do that all the way along. Okay, every stitch all the way along until we get to the end. So I'm going to pause the video then. I will catch up with you once I get all the way across to the other end. It does look better if you go in the one beforehand, just a little bit less slanted. Okay, all right then, I'm going to pause it. Try your best to get into that one before the post rather than just after the post. Do our spike and pull it up too high, and again go in to the post, do a spike into the post, and I'll catch up with you at the end. Okay, so I'm almost back. Got my last spike stitch, and then we have two again at the end. So I'm going to go in that stitch there and in my last stitch. Okay, so I'm going to turn, and at the end of this I want to try to make sure I've got the right amount of stitches. As I said to you before, if we don't, then that's no problem. We can always do 2 at the end, or we can always make it up. So now I'm going to do something a little different, and for the first row I'm going to just do 1 row in so in every single stitch, I'm going to do a UK half treble. So going in my first stitch, and in every single one, all the way across. Now this should be the reverse side, and they are quite a lot of the stitches identical, back and front, but you can usually tell by the first, where are we? There we go, the first round. You can usually tell which is the front, but you know, the spikes will give that kind of away. So we're just going to go in every single one, nice and simple, all the way to the end. A nice quick row. And yeah, boring to watch me. So I'll pause it then and catch up with you once I get back to the end. Okay, so I've counted all along, and I did go into too many. So I picked up an extra stitch at the end of my last round. So I'm going to half treble two together for my last stitch, and that will bring me back to my 66 stitches. And it doesn't matter really if I've got a little bit of an uneven edge, because I'm going to be putting a border on it, and as I say, if you pull these in, it does bring those ends in anyway. So that's my next round complete. So yeah, if you ever now and then just count up, I should have 166 stitches. I don't know if you decided to make the larger one, but every now and then I will count them, and I will put it right by either increasing one or decreasing one. But it doesn't matter too much if you're one out here and there. Like I said, you can just make up a stitch at the end. It's not going to mean the end of the world, and it's not going to mean lots of frogging, because, you know, there are ways and means around that. You don't need to worry about frogging. Anyway, what are we going to do next? Okay, so now I'm going to do a couple of rounds, up 2 or 3, where I go, I'm just going to cinch my chain down, where I go in the back loops. So if you look at the top of your stitches, there's our stitches from the side. And then if you look in the top, these here are the back loops. So we're going to go in and work in those. We're just going to pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of those. So a UK double crochet. And if I call it a double crochet, as I've said before, it's a single in the US. So I'm just going to go in those back loops only. Now that does look like they get all baggy and twisted out of shape, but don't worry, because when you go in the next one, it pulls them back in. They do even out. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that all the way to the end of this row. If you want, you can use this as your row to count. And then if you have too many or too few, then you can either increase one or decrease one, or just work with it. It doesn't really make a great deal of difference. One little tiny stitch here and there really does not make a great deal of difference to the way it looks. You just have to deal with it. Okay, so we're making this nice ridge, and it's the first of a few that we're going to do, and then we're going to pull it back together with our spikes. So we're going to do at least 3 rounds of this, maybe 4. Let's see how it looks. So just going to go in the back loops, making these ridges all the way to the end, nice and simple. Okay, I will catch up with you once I get to the end of this row. Okay, so I'm almost at the end. I've got another 2. And what I'm going to do now, that was a bit tight, is I am going to go and do another. Oh my goodness, hang on a second. I'll just pause it while I get that last one, because it's easier when I'm not. Okay, I got it. It was just a bit difficult on camera because the equipment was in the way. So, okay, what we're going to do now is going to do 3 more rows exactly the same. So we're going to cinch that one down. I don't want that getting confused. And we're going to go into the first one, into the back loop only, and make our stitch, and we're going to do that all the way along for another 3 rows. Okay, so this is going to be a nice little ridgy, ribbed sort of section. Okay, so this is our second row. We're going to have 4 all together, so there will be this one and a further 2. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video then, and I will come back with you once I've got my rows all done. Hi then. Okay, I've got all the way to the end. Now, if it does start to pull in, don't worry. It's just that some stitches are a bit tighter like that, you know. I think I've probably said this to you before, but I can't remember. So I know I've probably have, but never mind. It's just, you know, that can happen sometimes. So we're now going to start mimicking what's gone before. Now we've done our ridges. So the first row we need to do is the row of UK half trebles, because we're going backwards through it. We're going backwards through this sort of mirroring. So it's just a simple row of UK half trebles. Nice and simple and easy. Okay, so I'm going to do that. We're on the right side now, or we should be on the right side, as you can see from the bottom, because we want the foundation row for our spikes to be done on the wrong side. So should you have gone wrong somewhere and you find that you are not on the right side, then just do one more of the spike rows to get yourself on the right side. So all is not lost. Don't worry, there is very little frogging ever in my crochet. Make use of it rather than or kind of work it out rather than frog. I'm not a fan of frogging in any way. So, unless I absolutely have to. So that's that then. We are now mimicking this row here. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that and catch up with you once I get to the end. Oops, sorry about that, knocking you about. Okay, so I've got to my very last one. I'm going to do my last stitch and turn my work. So this round then, row, did it again, is making the foundation for our spike. So that is, I've done my chain and cinched it down. I didn't really go in both of those loops, did I? Let's sort that out. Like the look of that. Managed to only catch one of the loops for my last stitch. That's better. Can't have that. That's better. Okay, so we're going to have 1 UK half treble, 1 chain, skip 1, and then a half treble, a chain, skip 1, half treble, 1 chain, skip 1. We're going to do that all the way to the end again. Nice and easy. As I said before, that will be very boring watching me do this all the way across. So I might have said this to you before, but what I'm considering doing is making a swatch so that I can show you the stitches without you having to me having to pause it so much and take so long to get to the end. I could sort of do the work and then show you on the swatch how to do the stitches, because it's such a long blanket. It takes so long to get to the end of the rows. So that's what I might do. It really does depend on how much time I've got to do that now, because it's getting quite, well, it's not really that big, is it? I might be able to, it's just I've got a lot of other crochet commitments coming along, so just depends on my time. Okay then, I'm going to pause it and I will catch up with you once again when I get to the last of my stitches. Okay, so I'm almost there, and again we have 2 stitches at the end. Need to make sure that we go into both of those. Okay, my 1 chain pulled low. Okay, so now we're going to replicate the spike, and we've got to remember that we need to go into both of our stitches that have started this round. Okay, and now we're going to do our drop. So it's yarn over into the row below, pull it up and finish our half treble, and then 1 in the post, 1 in the row below, all the way along till we get to the end. And that will be our last row for now, because I think we've done quite a lot of rows in this segment. Many of them have been quite short rows, so as you can see, it finishes it off nicely, mirroring what's below. But I think, you know, for one session, that's quite a few rows. If we, you know, get to the next stage, maybe the rows will be a bit taller and we'll get more done. But yeah, you know, don't really want to keep you working for too long at any one time. Okay then, so in the row below and in the post, all the way to the end. I will pause the video then and catch back up with you at the end of this row, and then that will be the end of this particular segment. Okay, so I've just got to go into my very last one and we'll take a look at it and see what it looks like. So there we are. We've got this little ridge section. I like it actually. So that's that one, and thanks for taking part. I will see you guys on the next one. It shouldn't be too long. We're going to get this, keep this underway, and I'll come up with the next lot of stitches for you very soon. Bye bye for now.